It shouldn't be too surprising for me to say that Damwon Kia are the favorites to win the midseason invitational. They're the reigning world champions, and they went undefeated in the LCK Spring Playoffs, knocking off Hanwha Life Esports and Gen G in back-to-back 3-0 series. But as much as I love watching Damwon play, this isn't quite the same team that lifted the Summoners Cup in China last year. They don't play quite the same way, and honestly, they aren't quite as good as the 2020 version. The big change to Damwon's roster was the loss of their star top laner Nuguri, who went to FunPlus Phoenix in the LPL. Damwon brought in Khan to replace him, and it has definitely changed the team. In domestic play, their early game dominance took a noticeable hit. On average, they were 16.5 percentage points less likely to win at the 15-minute mark, which left their early game only second best in the league. Their kill-to-death ratio dropped from an overwhelming 2.22 down to a merely very good 1.35. And their jungle control, which had almost reached the 60s last summer, fell to just 56.4%, which was only 4.8 percentage points higher than the next best LCK team. Highly concerning. Damwon have made some very clear changes to integrate Khan. You can see it immediately in their champion pools. Nuguri played things like Jace, Camille, Renekton, and Kennen, consistent lane bullies who want to run with a lead. Khan has taken a very different approach. The 2021 meta has featured plenty of those same champions, but he's put in 18 games on Sion, with 8 games on Gnar and 5 on Gangplank. That doesn't mean he's had a shallow champion pool, because he's played 14 different champions overall. But clearly Khan understands that he's not the typical focal point of the team the way Nuguri was. The in-game result for Damwon's top lane has been a huge drop-off in laning outcomes, way less farm allocation, and a lot less damage output. That farm had to go somewhere, and 2 players were the main beneficiaries. Ghost saw his post-15-minute farm share go up 3 percentage points, and Canyon's share went up 3.6 points. The jungle meta played a role in this. Junglers all around the world have been farming much harder this year, but Canyon has done great things with his additional resources, boosting his damage share by 3.5 percentage points compared to last summer. Damwon have become a more straightforward team compared to when they won Worlds, with more tanks and weak side setups in the top lane, less late-game split pushing, and fewer huge snowballs to ride to victory. They found themselves fighting against more mid-game deficits than before, but that leads to one statistical area that Damwon have improved on this split: their ability to make comebacks, as shown by their mid-late rating. Over and over, Damwon have proven that they can win late-game teamfights despite huge disadvantages in gold, map control, or even team composition. Every member of Damwon deserves credit for the effectiveness of their teamfighting, but I personally tend to find my eyes drawn to Beryl and Showmaker in those fights. Their playmaking and target selection is just phenomenal, and they do so many small things to make the fights come together and take the right risks at the right times. I also want to point out how Damwon have matured over the course of the split. They've learned how to avoid poor fights and be more selective with their aggression, which might be the work of their new head coach this year, Koma. Earlier this year, and sometimes during 2020, Damwon would be too eager to contest early objectives and force fights that they hadn't put themselves in the best position to win. But in the playoffs, they showed better awareness and self-control. They were able to back off from scenarios where the risk versus reward balance wasn't good enough, and that contributed to their ability to mount comebacks and maintain control of the momentum in their playoff series. There are so many reasons to be excited about Damwon at MSI this year. I haven't even mentioned how creative they get with their drafts at times, like Canyon's use of Kayn, and Beryl's willingness to play just about anything alongside a fasting Senna, from Cho'Gath to Heimerdinger. Despite all the praises I'm sending their way, I actually do think that this version of Damwon Kia is a slight downgrade from last year, and has some vulnerabilities that good game planning and strong targeting may be able to overcome. It's hard to say whether any of the other MSI teams will have the scouting and execution to actually exploit those vulnerabilities, but I can't wait to watch and find out.
These days, everybody's talking about Wild Rift this, Wild Rift that. And you know what's actually wild? The amazing performance you can get with Alienware computers with NVIDIA graphics cards in them. You can go check them out over at alienware.com/Travis, and you can use Travis10 off to save 10%. Also wild that you can do that. They've got some fantastic stuff, including the Alienware M15R4. We love Alienware. Thank you so much for sponsoring my content, and we'll catch you next time.